Good evening, everyone. Welcome to an LP Alliance Solidarity stream. We are LP Alliance, an Intercaucus Coalition, rebuilding the Libertarian Party and revolutionizing the Liberty Movement. My name is Amanda Griffiths. I'm joined by Kyle Davis, joined by Jake Porter and John Ponte, and we should shortly be joined by Alexa Maffey, as well as Charlie Larkin. And what we wanted to do this evening was have a bit of a panel discussion because, as many of you probably know, Donald Trump signed an executive order that blurred the lines a little bit more on the criminality or the illegality of flag burning. And in response to this, many people, started thinking about demonstrations. Susan Hogarth of the Radical Caucus said that she would be planning over the next few weeks flag burning demonstrations. And this kicked off a discussion, obviously, in LP Alliance about how we felt about that and on the strategic nature or lack thereof of libertarians engaging in a flag burning protest, right? And the one thing that I thought was actually really cool about this discussion, and there were many things, is that there were a few of us who were gung-ho about it, and then there were others that had concerns. And in that process of vocalizing what the discomfort was and what the uncertainty was, at least for me, it allowed me to sort of shift and get a more multidimensional, holistic picture of what a good protest would look like in this case. So it allowed me to start thinking in new ways about ways that people who didn't want to burn a flag could still be involved, right? And this is not to say that everyone who objects to flag burning would then need to be involved in a flag burning protest if it's just done correctly. But I do think that there are probably others who have similar concerns to the ones that were raised in the group, and might be able to figure out a way to organize something that is not completely uncomfortable to them. So yes, we wanted to have a good faith panel discussion about essentially the strategic nature, the merits or demerits of libertarians engaging in flag burning at this particular time as a form of protest. And I'll just kick it off to whomever.
Do we want to go through the actual EO first and
sure, that'd be
mention
good.
what's said?
That would be wise.
Working on it.
Yeah, good time to mention how much Trump has tried to, of course, bypass Congress when it comes to using these executive orders,
right?
And
right.
basically help centralize control under his presidency, as well as just overall try to aggregate control into the executive branch, leading to sort of the beginnings, or I don't know if it's even the beginnings anymore, but the steps towards dictatorship.
Yeah. The governing by fiat. And it's very easy when you have a Congress that has an incentive to outsource its job to bureaucrats and to the executive. We have now the EO. We're going to read it to Joe. It's a bedtime story. Do you have to read this entire thing?
It's up to you. In
a Trump voice. In a Trump voice. It has
that
to
I
be
cannot do.
Voice.
That I cannot do.
By the authority vested in me as the president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1 purpose.
We all know that this is not anything that he wrote. This was clearly written by someone who could, write not in all caps. So no Trump voice for this one. Our great American flag is the most sacred and cherished symbol of the United States of America and of American freedom, identity, and strength. Over nearly 2.5 centuries, many thousands of American patriots have fought, bled, and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. The American flag is a special symbol. You're a really bad Trump impression, Phil. The American flag is a special symbol in our national life that should unite and represent all Americans of every background and walk of life. Desecrating it is uniquely offensive and provocative. It is a statement of contempt, hostility, and violence against our nation, the clearest possible expression of opposition to the political union that preserves our rights, liberty, and security. Burning this representation of America may incite violence and riot. American flag burning is also used by groups of foreign nationals as a calculated act to intimidate and threaten violence against the Americans because of their nationality and place of birth. Hey, Starfield. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's ruling on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that the American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action, or that it is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. See Texas v. Johnson. My administration will act to restore respect and sanctity of the American flag and prosecute those who incite violence or otherwise violate our laws while desecrating the symbol of our country to the fullest extent permissible under any available authority. Section 2, measures to combat desecration of the American flag. A, the Attorney General shall prioritize the enforcement to the fullest extent possible of our nation's criminal and civil laws against acts of American flag desecration that violate applicable content-neutral laws while causing harm unrelated to expression consistent with the First Amendment. This may include, but is not limited to, violent crimes, hate crimes, illegal discrimination against American citizens, or of other violations of Americans' rights, and crimes against property and the peace, as well as conspiracies and attempts to violate and aiding and abetting others to violate such laws. B, in cases where the DOJ or another executive department or agency determines that an instance of American flag desecration may violate an applicable state or local law, such as open burning restrictions, disorderly conduct laws, or destruction of property laws, the agency shall refer the matter to the appropriate state or local authority for potential action. C, to the maximum extent permitted by the Constitution, the Attorney General shall vigorously prosecute those who violate our laws in ways that involve desecrating the American flag and may pursue litigation to clarify the scope of the First Amendment exceptions in this area. D, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Homeland Security, acting within their respective authorities, shall deny, prohibit, terminate, or revoke visas, residence permits, naturalization proceedings, and other immigration benefits, or seek removal from the United States pursuant to federal law, including a bunch of U.S. codes. Whenever there has been an appropriate determination that foreign nationals have engaged in American flag desecration activity under circumstances that permit the exercise of such remedies pursuant to federal law. Section 3. If any provision of this order or the application of any provision to any person or circumstance is held to be invalid, the remainder of this order and the application of its provisions to any other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. Section 4, general provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair, otherwise affect 1, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or 2, the functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative protocols. B, this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law, or in equity by any party against the United States, its agencies or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. D, the costs for publication of this order shall be borne by the Department of Justice. Donald J. Trump, the White House, August 25th, 2025.
It won't be borne by the Department of Justice. It will be borne by your taxpayer dollars. Stop! Don't do that, please. Don't.
I didn't do it on
You
purpose.
did indeed do it on purpose.
No, I didn't. I removed the other thing.
Always does on purpose.
She's still mad.
So I think the first thing to clarify is that nothing actually has changed per the text of this executive order, right? So if you actually look at case law, this does not directly infringe on any rights related to flag burning that have already been found, right? In terms of expression. What it does do is essentially prompt two, I would say, dueling hooks with bait, right? So there was a point that was raised about how Trump is essentially trying to bait opponents, right, into going out and burning flags so that they can look terrible. And this will help Trump. In the first place, there's already plenty of footage of people burning flags that Trump can use, but needless to say, there is another alternative form of bait, which actually would be a protester burning a flag and then basically having to call the department's bluff, right? So is this illegal activity or isn't it? And if you're saying that it is illegal activity and then try to prosecute it, it ends up not being found to be illegal, what has happened, or it ends up being found to be illegal, and then essentially you have a kangaroo court type of case, and a martyr situation. There are two competing claims, I think, for what makes this bait. There's the bait to the protester as well as the debate to, or so the bait to the Trump administration. That would be the first thing that stands out to me based on the text of the order.
All right. I guess if I have clearly not talked enough yet after reading that executive order, so I will
Those are your
whine
words,
first.
so.
All three of my grandfathers, because I have a step grandfather, were in the Air Force. My dad was in the Navy. My great grandparents fought in World War II. My great greats fought in World War I. I worked for the Army. I grew up respecting the flag. I was in color guard. I know how to hold a flag, take care of a flag, properly burn a flag, and bury a flag. It's always been something that's important to me. And one of the things that's important about that flag is that it is a symbol enshrining our rights as Americans. Those rights include the right to destroy that symbol. To me, thereby, the most provocative and evocative way to show those rights and to uphold the meaning of that flag and the symbol of that flag is to show that it serves us and to burn it. This is obviously a controversial take, and we are certainly going to get into that tonight.
Well, I don't disagree with the symbolism of the flag, or disagree in practice. I think what's been far more offensive, obviously, is Donald Trump and other authoritarian wannabes' desecration of what the flag symbolizes, the desecration of the republic of what they've done. That said, I believe he puts out these executive orders to distract from things. He would like to see people burning the flags in the street. That's going to make it the American public a lot more sympathetic whenever he puts National Guard troops in Chicago and other cities across the United States. I will offer an alternative proposal. I think that we should do some flag burning. Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about the flag. I know there's pictures of him molesting it and going on it. And when you're president, they let you do it. Just grab him by the gold fringes. But he doesn't really care about that. He didn't really care about the flag. He cares about his flag. His flag, the one that on January 6th, they took the American flag down, threw it on the ground, and put up his flag, the Trump flag. That's what he cares about. If we want to be burning flags, burn the Trump flag and let him know what we really think of him and authoritarians. I think that will have far more impact when you burn him in effigy and the Trump flag than it will burning the American flag. And it may turn people are going to be less offended, maybe not his supporters, but people will be less offended by burning the Trump flag than they will the American flag. And I think the symbolism will be pretty clear. His economy is in the dirt. His approval ratings are lower than Joe Biden's were in this point in his presidency. And he wants anything to do to distract from that. But we should not stand back. I think that's also a mistake to say, oh, we'll just let Trump continue to do this stuff. That's kind of my alternative proposal. I don't mind if people do it. I just don't think strategically it's the best option.
My sense is also that strategically, to only have flag burning and nothing else, like nothing else there, just American flag burning is strategically just illiterate. With the notion of burning the Trump flag, I like that a lot. And that was one of the first things that I think was suggested in response to people who were uncomfortable about burning and the actual American flag. Don't just burn the Trump flag. You also take out pictures, huge pictures, because you were talking about this being a distraction, Jake, from other things. Blow up a huge picture of Trump and Epstein together and you could burn that. Anything basically that symbolizes the tyranny and the farce of the Trump administration and the way that the Trump administration has made a mockery of American and, yes, of course, libertarian ideals, although, of course, I have on very good authority that we have a libertarian president, according to our disgraced ex-chair. Yeah. But even so, to burn multiple things so that there is not just a a need to only burn the American flag. I do think that there is a place for doing that in a large protest, and especially in a virtual protest, say, where you have multiple people who just take videos of themselves burning the flag accordingly, according to standards, burning the flag in effigy, burning the Trump flag, burning pictures of Trump and Epstein, whatever, burning the executive order, writing, I ain't gonna read all that on the executive order, and then burning it. Doing that video mashup and then having people explain what they're doing and why would also be immensely powerful, in my view. I think just the difference with me is I don't write off the strategic advantage in certain contexts of flag burning.
I think also if we thought people were going to be prosecuted, and you mentioned the martyr issue, correct? If I actually thought people were going to be prosecuted for it, I might have a different take. I don't think people are going to be prosecuted for it, though. I think it's going to be more of the image. That if I thought that was going to happen, though, my opinions might change a little bit, because I think that would turn the American people against this executive order and what Donald Trump is attempting to do. But I don't think that any court's going to side with that, and I don't think there'd be serious prosecution.
Do you not think there'd be arrests, though? I think someone's already been arrested, although that was for burning a flag by the White House.
Well,
yeah,
they'll get them on some parks violation. That should probably be like a $50 fine or something. They'll try to get people on
As
that.
always, your freedom of speech is based
I
on
don't
how many
know if
dollars you have.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen if people went to state capitals across the country burning flags and Confederate flags and Trump flags and American. I don't know what would happen. They probably too many people. They can't really prosecute everyone, but they'd probably get them on some small charges like that, I guess. But I don't think you'd have any serious. What he was talking about, a 1 year in jail or something like that.
And we talk about burning. There are other modes of so-called desecration, right? There's cutting the flag. You can write something on it. These are all other methods that, if people do not want to be as extreme as burning, are open. Once again, my argument has been more that there's no tactic that should be written off entirely here. There is, particularly in this situation, a strategic advantage to flag burning, provided it is done in a certain way. And I think one of those factors that makes it more strategic is to not just have the American flag there.
I'm going to interject because there are, at this point, 5 good comments pinned. Joe points out that he's slightly more offended by Trump burning the Constitution. Meredith points out that the real problem with Trump this go around is that he's way less funny. Keith has pointed out that nothing makes him want to burn a flag like it being illegal to do so. Starfield points out that when the government of a country violates the very principal documents it was founded upon, either it's fine to burn the flag or it's time for a new damn flag. And Free, are you smarter than politician Free? It says that MAGA is fine with authoritarian rule. And that artist made you step on it was Dred Scott, I think his name was. So we have now caught up with the chat.
I think it's supposed to be pronounced Free Star.
Fair.
Well, when it comes to the whole thing, there is sort of it is very much performative, but the performance is sort of part of it. When he tries to make these kinds of executive orders that are very performative, it of course is one, trying to distract from either other actions such as the deployment of the National Guard, and 2, it's trying to make people more comfortable, maybe with the idea at least of eroding away what might be seen as like free acts of expression, even if it's just like, they say they're going to just do it like in accordance with the law, in accordance with like what other legal barriers they can use as an excuse for prosecuting an act of free expression. But it overall is just trying to, in some ways, inch forward past the envelope, see how much you can push, I guess what we call the Overton window, in acceptable opinions. And the further we continue on this, the further it is where it's trying to where this administration is trying to push more authoritarian forms of governance to be acceptable to the public, either through forms of apathy or learned helplessness, or through forms of just making it seeming to protect the kind of aesthetics of America, which, of course, the American flag being a very blatant symbol and a very, very blatant, aesthetic appeal when it comes to the United States. And so when it comes to flag burning, I think there is a thing where if you want to make a protest out of it, you do have to be strategic about, media, like how it's viewed. You have to try to do it in a way that's sort of, as Saul Alinsky would put it, you gotta sort of be on the level of the outsiders viewing in to make sure that they understand why you're doing it, and be in a way that it doesn't just cut off communication with them because of the aesthetics of it.
Right.
But I also think you kind of have to do a bit of burning in order to try and push back that Overton window. I think that's the right term. I'm not fully sure, but you got to push back that window of acceptable opinion when it comes to, how acceptable is it to burn a flag as a form of freedom of expression, even if there's like an aesthetic unappealingness to it. One way is with this executive order trying to push towards acceptability of criminalizing it, even if they're only just doing what's already on the books, making what was once hush hush, speaking it out loud. You kind of have to counteract that with, at points, some explicit demonstrations and possibly some explicit legal challenges in regards to the whole martyr complex that Jake brought up earlier and that Amanda brought up earlier. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it's sort of, you have to find a good balance and you have to experiment to figure out. But I do see some sort of value in regards to flag burning when it comes to trying to push it away from the kind of trying to push the public away from the kind of authoritarianism that is being pushed by this administration and by its supporters.
I want to get Alexa in here. I do also want to note that Free wants to know what would they do if you burned the Trump Bible, which is another good another possibility. But Alexa's been quiet, so I want to pick on her.
Well, I'm an atheist, so I'm fine burning the Trump Bible. I don't think anything's going to strike me down. Although, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suppose, I don't know if that would be a good representation for us as libertarians, too, because I know there are plenty of Christian libertarians out there, and, they are welcome members here. I expect.
As one, putting the devil's name on the front of the Bible doesn't make it a good Bible.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about how we need to do this in a strategic way and stuff and have to be careful about things. But I'm like, that in and of itself is kind of a sign of, I mean, it only takes one screenshot of you, with a flag burning and, with some wacky face or something for someone to blow it up and put it everywhere. And take it out of context. I also just think it's a poor use of our time and resources. Why not just protest against the Epstein file? Against
the lack of release thereof.
What?
The lack of release of the file.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, I know they were never going to get released. I'm not. I'm not. Oh, okay.
No, that's not your fault. That's
okay. Yeah. Don't buy a flag and waste perfectly good money just to burn it and risk, it getting, kind of used in a negative way. I also just think that there's a kind of ick factor that people are kind of dismissing in terms of sometimes, you know, you guys are all making very reasonable, logical points on how to do this, you know, respectfully and with tact and stuff, but it's like there's certain things that when you do them, it just makes somebody go, ick, gross, like, I don't like it. That's just their you know, that's their first gut reaction. I'm trying, like children on leashes. Like, when you think of it from a, you know, when you think about it from a reasonable standpoint, it's like, well, okay, I guess it keeps kids from running away and stuff. And it's not actually on, you know, it's usually on their backpack and not like on around their neck. Most people are just disturbed by it because it's like, that's what you put your pet on. Don't put your kid on a leash. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I think so. One thing that you brought up that was a really important point was the capacity to focus on other things, right? So like, why not the lack of the release of the Epstein files? Why not all of these other things that Trump is doing? And I think that's actually fair. One thing that you know, an effigy kind of protest absolutely does do is it brings people's attention to something. So to have that, and then also to have at the same time, you know, other statements about the Epstein files, other statements about all of the other encroachments on civil liberties and economic liberties, the 10% of intel, all of that stuff, is, I think, a really powerful way to draw attention to those things rather than simply have it just be about flag burning. And yeah, there are, anytime there's a protest or anytime there's any form of activism, we have to talk about being strategic. So it's not exclusive to flag burning. Flag burning is just something where, because it is more likely to be eye-catching, we need to use that in a favorable rather than unfavorable way. I mean, there are pros and cons to canvassing. There are pros and cons to signature gathering. There are pros and cons to any type of demonstration. When we did No Kings, that was a big thing that was discussed as well. So in regard to that, there does seem like a way to use that to draw more attention while also having these various ways of, you know, burning other things that are not simply the American flag. Phil says his parents leashed him and he turned out fine.
Sure,
With the /S.
The good thing is,
I did want to comment really quickly on the presidential Donald J. Trump Signature Edition Bible. If you were going to burn this Bible, you were going to need to spend a lot of money. It cost $1,000 for this rare artifact, this Donald J. Trump signed Bible, autographed Bible. Every word in red spoken by Donald Trump.
What is the non-autographed version? How much does that cost?
Yeah. Well, I think that's some of these go for $99. There's some of them that have the Constitution on them. It's got him and Lee Greenwood, the Donald Trump Lee Greenwood God Bless the USA Bible, handwritten chorus to God Bless the USA, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, only $59.99. Yours to burn.
The state of, was it Ohio or Oklahoma? Purchased
Oklahoma.
by the state of Oklahoma for it to be used in public schools.
Alexis just says she has a $0 way of disrespecting Trump, and I want to know what that is. You said you have an image of it?
yes, I do. I sent it to Kyle.
Okay. Oh, yes. Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. Pop. Screen share.
Sheep is free.
I guess some background here. I don't know if all delegates got them. But yeah, for some reason, I got this stupid piece of mail from Donald Trump delivered to my address. And there was this long letter that was very poorly punctuated, all kinds of weird grammatical issues. It really annoyed me. And the stupid free bumper sticker.
I love the fact that you graffitied this in gold Sharpie, because we all know that this is Trump's favorite thing is a gold Sharpie. So that is a particularly wonderful touch.
Indeed.
That I wouldn't burn, actually. I think I would just leave that exactly as it is. I don't know if I would effigize that one in particular. We had Charlie just come in. And so, Charlie, if you feel comfortable jumping in or you kind of want to see where the discussion is right now, but welcome. Good to have you.
I'm leaving. I'm going to Leominster.
/ background voices.
Charlie.
One point that I think it was, Charlie, go on. You there?
Uh-huh.
All right.
I'm just kind of watching for right now, and then
Okay.
I'll reserve comment for later.
Sounds good. One point that Starfield made in the chat that Kyle read that is a good one to go back to is talking about, and I forget exactly how it was phrased. Did you bookmark it, Kyle, so you can read it? It was the one about the flag and time to.
I
have a
did,
different
but
flag?
I've pulled it already, but I'll find it again.
Okay. When the government of a country violates the very principal documents it was founded upon, either it's fine to burn the flag or it's time for a new damn flag. So this is something that I was thinking about in terms of what libertarianism is, because if we're talking about the pragmatics of a protest, of a form of protest, we have to understand what the aim is, and we have to understand whom we're trying to attract. We have to understand whom we're trying to repel. I would like to see a more politically active libertarian party. I would like to see a more, again, we say that we're revolutionizing the liberty movement. I would like to see a more rebellious and more revolutionary libertarian party. Libertarianism is innately revolutionary, and not just because, again, we are inherently radical. We talk about the smallest denominator of the group, which is the individual. Those are the rights that we champion. It's also the fact that, when you look at revolutions, and if you come from the classical liberal tradition of American libertarianism, you look at the American Revolution. A lot of folks like to say that our founding father revolutionaries were libertarians. I think if you look at it from the lens of classical liberalism, that makes some sense. And you also look at the European libertarian tradition. Proudhon, you have Macron. These were revolutionary figures as well. And ultimately, there has never been a truly libertarian movement that did not eventually fly under its own flag or be overtaken by another. And this is one of those things that we kind of have to think about, is not necessarily making our own flag tomorrow. We do have the Gadsden flag, of course, but the fact that we do have
Got our Death to Kingmakers flag too. So and don't burn that. That is not to be burned.
As long as you buy it for $30, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Angela McArdle can buy a Death to Kingmakers flag and burn it in effigy at a flag burning protest. Totally fine. Burn your favorite flags. So yes, libertarianism is innately revolutionary, and we also need to consider that if the American flag symbolizes those revolutionary ideals, then sometimes it is time to reevaluate, and it's time to honor those ideals by doing things that are bold and, yes, certainly offensive to certain groups by nature of their radicalism.
I think that's a good point. And, I always say that pragmatism has its benefits at times, but movements begin with radicalism, right? Martin Luther King Jr. didn't say, I have a 10-point plan to end Jim Crow, did he? He had a dream. Gandhi also had a vision. They didn't go out and give pragmatic. They went out there and they gave very specific things that they were going to do, whether it be a march, whether it be a protest, a demonstration. And a lot of people were opposed to this. And when, the principle, I think, of both Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. was when people see the state use violence against you, use force against you, it turns the people to your side, generally speaking. Not always, and when it doesn't, that's a danger. But generally speaking, obviously didn't work with Hitler, so it doesn't always work. But generally speaking, though, the people will turn to your side, and the people will become more sympathetic whenever they see the state use the heavy hand against you. And so there is a time for radicalism. I just question if that specific idea of radicalism, of burning the American flag, is going to bring people to our side or make them happy that we're getting hit and beat up in the streets.
And that's a fair point.
That
On its own, I'd say no. I'd say accompanied by other things and with messaging that is appealing to a broad audience, yes. Yeah, you're correct that I think if someone were to, well, first of all, like you said, considering the fact that we're trying to bring more people into the Libertarian Party. Okay, what sort of people are we trying to bring in? Not statists of any stripe. So it's not just about recruiting people. It's about recruiting people who have libertarian ideals. I think right now we need to be thinking about people who are younger in particular, because really, there are those studies that say that the only time that people change their political leanings is in very early life or in college. So getting students, I think, are more predisposed to radical messaging in particular. When we're talking about whom we want to appeal to, bless you. When we're talking about whom we want to appeal to, thinking about the messaging that's going to reach people who are going to do those more radical actions in the future when it comes to political activity, when it comes to causes, when it comes to being an actual formidable political force, we need people who are going to do that. Those, I think, are people who are a little bit more rebellious. And for that reason, the messaging needs to be more rebellious as well. It's a delicate line to walk. I don't think that means we don't walk it. I just think that it means that we make sure that we're thinking through the mind of the people that we want to bring on board.
I think that. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think though, like most of us didn't enter the party as radically libertarian as we are now. Most, I think, at least in my case, like it was frustration with the other two parties and seeing you guys are doing the same stupid garbage and all that. And not necessarily agreeing with every single thing, but maybe 70% of it, and then learning from other libertarians and stuff, like growing in that sense and becoming radicalized through you radical folks, so to speak. So when it comes to going after young people, I think there's also, I think a lot of people get kind of, sometimes, they hear libertarianism and they're like, wait, what? Like, they're so used to the state being in their lives and running them. They can't imagine their life without the state. They can't imagine, a system in which people, in which there's a social safety net, in which they don't, have to pay a very large chunk of their income and all these other things. They're so reliant on the government. They can't even imagine life without it. And I think they kind of like look at us and hear some of our extreme messaging. In fact, sometimes I remember seeing once, it was in, I think, a 2020 libertarian presidential debate, like presidential primary, it was on like YouTube streamed because, pandemic. And people were saying, like, in the comments, like, man, why do they always have these like really wacky extreme people? Like, why isn't there just like some person who's kind of like, these two parties suck? Like, why do they always jump right to like, we gotta legalize meth? Can't we start with like weed and work our way up to meth? Like, what the hell is going on here?
And Susan would say no, absolutely not. But not just Susan, but yeah. Sorry, Kyle, and we'll first make sure that Alexa's finished. Sorry if I cut you off.
Oh no, that's it. I'm good. That's the point. Yeah.
Kelly, you were going to say something?
Yeah. I think MLK being brought up is an interesting thing, because when we look at the history of MLK, the things we're all taught in school about MLK was that he was always against violence. He was never, everything he preached was nonviolence. All the movements were nonviolent, and that's what eventually won. It's a lie. They specifically take out of context just the parts of speeches, just the videos and everything that show the nonviolence. When they talk about the bridge sit-in, they were armed. And when the police rolled up and they tried to force them to move, the police died. At some point, when you look at every revolution, the authoritarians are going to try violence against you, and you have to be prepared to do things. That the symbol here, the amount of violence we're talking about with a burning of a flag, is so microscopic compared to the amount that's being violated or is being delivered upon us, that to me, that flag being used by them as a symbol of their power, which is what they do. There's a reason that every soldier has it on his arm, every single vehicle has the flag on it, every single freaking person in politics has the flag on their shirt. They do it to make you believe that they are part of that flag symbolism, that ideology, that meaning of the country. They're using the flag as a shield. When you go out and you say, there's this thing that I love, but I'm going to destroy it if you try to hide behind it, because you will not hide this monstrosity. You will not be using something I care about as a shield. You have taken the power from the people who are trying to misuse that thing. I fully understand the fear that's there. I really do. I don't know that I'm correct on the idea that torching a flag is going to be a net positive, but I believe it is, because I believe there's going to be people who, if you have your message up there and they watch what happens, you're not going to get everybody. You might even not get the majority of people, but some people are going to notice, and they're going to step forward, and they're going to start doing work with you. And you may not get everyone you want this time, but because you have more people who really care about this thing and understand what's happening, you have a little more momentum to push a little further next time. And when we do constant protests and constant activism and everything else, every time we push a little bit further, until eventually we have enough people with us where, we grow and pulse and grow and pulse and grow and pulse until we're big enough that we can fight the bigger guys. We can go out there, and they have to be scared shitless of it.
And that was a good point that you touched on. That this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? So it's not yay flag burning protest and then that's it. It's this coupled with not just during that protest, but all of these other forms of activism concurrently, ideally, should be what's being done, so that there is outreach with people who might not want to go to a flag burning protest, might be put off by it. But again, I would suggest, as Phil points out in the chat, I think there's a radical uprising happening right now. Do we offer them an alternative to Marx? There are plenty of alternatives to Marx. There are communist alternatives to Marx that are much better than Marx. And that might be one way. I know, very, very low bar. Marx was even widely cited in his day. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I think we do offer an alternative, and we offer an alternative in the way that speaks to them, because we want people who are going to be politically active. That means people who are going to be a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more radical. And when I say radical, by the way, I don't just mean like radical caucus radical, which is why I'm kind of trying to avoid the word, because I'm not trying to just say it's that caucus that has a claim to radicalism. I don't think it is. I think the entire party does. But yeah, we need to be reaching out to radical messengers, and we do that with radical messaging.
But how do we differentiate ourselves from the Democrats, as somebody had said earlier? The Democrats are all going out, falling into Trump's, they're pulling Trump's bait.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're
I think
planking on fishing terms.
Yeah.
I think the first step is we need to, as a party, quit kissing Trump's ass. That's what we need to do first of all. We've stopped doing that so much, but that's going to take a lot to get over. As much as I dislike Gavin Newsom, he's actually doing something that he hasn't done before. And a libertarian should have started doing this, just really mocking Trump.
Yeah,
In a way that it confuses Trump's cult. It confuses the cult on Fox News that they don't know how to, well, this is just stupid. Well, of course it's stupid. We've been saying that for close to 10 years, how childish and stupid this is. It takes the fight to them. It's things like that are a little bit unconventional. Americans want to be entertained. That's why Donald Trump is president, because Americans wanted to be entertained. Hillary Clinton's not entertaining. Gary Johnson's kind of entertaining, but not that entertaining. Joe Biden's certainly not entertaining, and Kamala Harris is not entertaining.
Joe Biden's barely alive.
Well, so's Trump. You've seen his hand, but anyway. The American people they want to be entertained by something, and you've got to find a way to grab their attention. Burning a flag will grab people's attention. I don't know if they get the message behind it though.
Yeah, which is why I think there are a lot of interesting strategies mentioned. Free says, I think they're trying to make us look weak and fringe. Burning a flag usually looks lame, not inspirational. I think that is partly true. It's always context dependent, and I know that sounds like a cop out. There are material conditions in which it works better, and material conditions in which it's not at all advisable. This particular moment, I think, again, if it's surrounded by other literature, surrounded by other signage, then it doesn't necessarily look weak and fringe. And there's the question of the double bait, right? There's Trump, yes, baiting us maybe to look weak and fringe. But then there's us baiting him saying, what are you going to do about it? And either the answer is nothing, and then he looks weak, or a lot, and then he looks fringe, and we look like martyrs. So I don't want to get off Alexa's question either, which is how do we distance ourselves from the Democrats? And this is where I think multiple messages are really important and really valuable. The thing is too, though, and I kind of hate to say this, but if there is any new footage of people burning flags that gets used during the midterms, that is going to be pinned on the Democrats, right? So it's going to, because Trump doesn't want to bother with libertarians, wants to bother with Democrats that are actually posing a threat to him. So that's
we're his base now, right?
Right. Yeah. The MAGA base. That's fair.
Well, Senator Mike Lee said it was Antifa that showed up at our convention and booed Trump. So they've already been playing that game, right? I mean, he said that. He knew that wasn't true, but he said it anyway. So they've already been playing that game that we are Trump's base, and that it's Antifa doing all this stuff. So it'll just be Antifa, the same way Antifa was responsible for January 6th before January 6th became a great thing, and they were patriots, and Trump pardoned them all. It's always Antifa, it's always the FBI, it's always federal agents, which now Trump controls, until it's not. So when we think about how the narratives work, you've got to realize that the narratives work. They're going to put whatever narrative they want out there, whether it's accurate or not. They're going to say whatever they want, whether it's accurate or not. It doesn't matter. Trump's going to say it. Trump says, he gives a 20-minute discussion on windmills killing wells. I mean, it's nonsense. So he's just going to make up stuff. And he's constantly going to make up stuff. And it doesn't matter what we do. The Republicans are going to say false things about us. I mean, how long do we have to hear? And I think this was from the Democrats, but what is Aleppo? Over and over and over again. Trump doesn't even know that Alaska is in the United States, but we have to hear about what is Aleppo still to this day.
Y'all, this is a major breaking point. Meredith is Antifa.
She's also Freedom Calls, too.
Who don't
I was
know,
about to say.
Yes.
I was Liberty Century's account was directly notified of that because Austin reposted that in a Twitter thread.
Beautiful.
That we were tagged on, so I got to see firsthand that.
For those who don't know, Austin Martin recently tweeted a screenshot of a clearly sarcastic remark that Meredith made in an LNC chat. And correct me, Meredith, if I'm getting the details wrong. Ages ago, that said that she was Freedom Calls and that she organized this as a setup for Angela McArdle. And Austin was sharing this, I think it was last night, as true. And so now Meredith is admitting to all sorts of things from her dirty, dirty past. She's the Zodiac killer. She's Antifa. She actually is Donald Trump and is single-handedly responsible for getting him elected. So direct all of your ire to Meredith, please, for the rest of the evening.
Exactly.
She also freed Ross.
Yes. She is Ross, in fact. And she is everyone who's ever bought anything on the Silk Road.
Yeah.
Back to the American flag discussion. I guess one quick thing. If
She has a terrible personality disorder then if she thinks it's that many people.
Right. Sorry, John, go on.
No worries. I'm fine. What was I saying? I guess one quick thing. If you want to not pay a lot of money, if you want to do either flag burnings, or if you want to try a different thing where you want to do let's say waving the flag upside down, that's been used as a form of protest a lot. It's a symbol of distress when the flag is hung upside down. And of course it's been used widely in protests to show disgust and like the danger that this nation is in when it comes to like, individual rights, that kind of stuff. But if you either want to burn, if you want to fly upside down, and you don't want to spend a lot of money on getting new flags, Home Depot, what's the other department store? Lawrence, Lawrence. Lowe's. Lowe's, they sell American flags for like $2-3. The small 8-inch by 12-inch ones that are on the thin stick that you put in people's yards.
I would suggest getting some from China because they'll be really cheap, but right now they won't be.
Right. Tariffs.
In regards to like, the thing with protest in regards to like the aesthetics of it, I think it is a thing where good media control, or I guess, I don't know if media control, but good media connections and that kind of stuff will help in regards to trying to frame the story. And of course, some other aesthetics, for example, if you are going to have like a bigger burning, for example, one that can be iconic for like a photographer or anything, have a veteran do it. If you have a veteran do it, like that would make a very contrasting image. Why would a veteran who, sacrificed so much to serve and protect the nation and the flag for which it stands go on to burn that flag? Or if you have like, if you want to like focus on the kind of demographics that they would want to blame, you focus on more elderly people, you focus on those who are, I guess, what would you call light-skinned? You focus on those who would possibly like be more disabled or something like that. Those who are like, especially disabled, again, for serving the country, whether it's like either as a veteran or maybe as a firefighter, as a former policeman, as a former jobs, which you can find people who are in the Libertarian Party. And an interesting thing that, Joe brings up in the chat, guy who like burned the White House flag, did the White House flag burning, 20-year veteran. If that fact is advertised enough, that's going to make for a lot of interesting juxtapositions. Because if we have veterans that are protesting and burning the flag because of what the Trump administration is doing, what does that exactly say about the administration? Now, Trump's base might not be much caring about it, but we're not trying to communicate with Trump's base per se. Not even all Republicans are part of Trump's base. There's going to be a huge swath that are against it, even if they're highly underrepresented in Congress. But Congress barely represents the people anyway. So it's a thing of, you have that, you have, of course, the certain aesthetics in regards to how do you present this. You can, of course, I believe one of the other people in the alliance, Jake Leonard, I think it was Jake Leonard, but I'm not entirely sure, who is part of LPA of Illinois. I think he proposed the idea in regards to, if you're going to burn the flag, do it in the proper manner that's put in the flag code. You have it so that that proper ceremony of burning the flag can have symbolic value, not just in regards to it's a burning of the flag, but in its respectful manner. But what is the kind of story that you can tell that if you have a perfectly good flag that's supposed to represent the nation, that is being burned because of how much that this administration, this government has tainted it spiritually, has tainted it not in the material sense where if it was torn, had holes, all that kind of stuff, that material issues would lead to it being burned under the flag code. You emphasize that spiritual tearing, that spiritual taint, that all those holes into how much this administration is like basically pissing on the flag, for lack of a better word.
It's honestly,
you sell that story.
Yeah,
You sell that story, and that's at least one way to do it. It takes a lot of work, but you try to sell the story.
it's honestly, it's beautiful. And when that was posted, because I think something else that was suggested was that this be filmed, right? Like film yourself burning the flag in accordance with the flag code and say why you're doing it and say what that means. You know, talk about the symbolism. And this is the other thing too, is symbolism is created by people and changed by people. Symbolism is always being rewritten in real time. If we want to change what the flag means, then we do that through action, and we do that through narrative. To have a video that's put out that has multiple cuts of multiple people from multiple walks of life that are doing various sorts of a flag, defacing, such as it is, or B, other effigy defacing. If you have someone burning the flag in accordance with the flag code and explaining why, you have someone burning a flag or cutting up a flag and explaining why, you have someone burning a Trump flag and explaining why, you have this cut to several minutes long where people, all different types of people, are doing this and saying why they're doing it. You release that, you basically have a nationwide protest that didn't have to, involve thousands of people in every single city and getting them involved. Just involve people from all over using this symbol in the way that is important to them, defining it in the way that they choose and taking it back and reclaiming it. And that is broadcast, in the infinite space of the digital ether. That to me seems like potentially the most powerful, lowest cost, and I think the phrase I used was least unduly offensive way of going about this while still hitting all the notes that need to be hit.
Christians 500 points out that a veteran burning a flag while playing taps on speakers as if it's a funeral, as if MAGA has killed America, would be powerful imagery. Video footage may not have audio, though. As a trumpeter myself and someone who worked for the Army, though I did not actually enlist.
It was trumpeter, by the way, not trumper. Just to be clear, like Kyle said.
A trumpeter.
Yeah.
Like I have played taps many times. So I would not be against making that clip. And I have some vet friends who I think would help, wouldn't they?
I rather like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Charlie also had a pretty good idea. If you want to run it down, Charlie.
Similarly, yeah.
And we had, so Kyle and I had a little bit of a discussion privately because I'm not going to lie, this whole thing has not sat well with me at all. And he mentioned a couple of things, and I said, hey, I got an idea. And it was kind of where I guess someone else had the same idea of do a proper burning only using retired flags. County affiliates or state parties or whoever can go out and, regional affiliates. Because, hey, if you've got a worn out flag that needs to be retired, please let us know and either bring it here or call somebody and we'll come and collect it. And then do it that way with the preface, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and do something like that. And I think this would blend it. And I think the idea of having the vet like the match while the taps are played, do it all, blend it all together. You know what? I think that would make the point very clearly, very respectfully, and very plainly that we are not happy.
Mm-hmm. Starfield says it's not a bad idea, but still needs more than the flag to point towards Trump. I think that is true. I think it's an essential part, what Charlie has just described. I think that along with, or within rather, a video that has multiple effigies that make it clear that it's about Trump. And then also, as Charlie and Kyle explained, these statements of the people who are doing the burning themselves, why they're doing it, would be immensely powerful. It could be a beautifully cut video. I am very much for that. Grand Rapids, it's got to be way before Grand Rapids show.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah. Although I would want to be way before
we can do it then too, but
yeah.
Why not Why not do it both?
That's
Do it
fair.
before
That's
and
fair.
do it at.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, the thing is too that these stories go in and out of public consciousness so quickly that that's also the virtue of a huge demonstration, which again can either be physical or can be virtual. That keeps things in the news cycle longer. That keeps the eyes on an injustice. So another reason that this is so powerful and needs to happen quickly.
I think that goes.
I think if we were to do this,
Sorry.
if we were to do this, I think what we should be doing is we should be reaching out to our local newspapers and radio stations, maybe the TV stations. They like to go cover stuff like this, especially if it's in a small town or something like that. And you've got a smaller, low population area that has like a little regional news station or something like that. We get some coverage, and we get to make our point, and you have a unaffiliated third party saying, "Yeah, this went smoothly, and there was not the least bit of disrespect or anything else present." And
Yeah,
that would
and I
probably, and that might, that could have a lot of real reach with a lot of people who are not happy with either party. And to those, well, gee, we don't want to stay this. And well, you know what? You have to start somewhere. And if this gives somebody, okay, I think we've gone too far. And it's okay, what are your proposals for backing things off a little bit? There you go.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. The mention of the small towns and getting news media involved is very good. I think a small town would have a better chance of it. This is also a place where, and of course I'm going to say this, but writing op-eds is very powerful. Mimi Robson in California wrote an amazing op-ed that got published in like the OC Register and 15 other papers about libertarian participation in No Kings. To have everyone, because each person I think who's watching this, who's participated in this discussion, has a unique take on not just whether this should happen, but if it's going to happen, how it should be done and why, what it means to you. It would be beautiful to have all of those positions written down, 600 to 800 words, submitted to a local or national paper talking about libertarians and their response to this executive order, and how protest can be achieved in a compelling way, in a way that gets attention, and in a way that reclaims the symbolism for ourselves. This is a place where op-eds and writing and publishing in local and national papers is, in my view, absolutely critical.
I agree.
And I like the idea that Alexa had of maybe, I don't know if we want to do it separately or together, working in things like the Epstein matter, some of the actions that are being taken by ICE and some of the such. Just maybe see if we can do everything in one sitting, or we just need to start planning a whole series of, this week we're going to focus on this week we're going to focus on that, this week we're going to focus on the other thing. And if you keep doing that, you might start getting people say, hey, wait a minute, and you show up once or twice, you do this once or twice a month, grievance of the week.
I love that. Then
people may start saying, hey, you know what? I kind of agree with you here.
So it's grievance of the I'm falling in love with this. So and Charlie just dropped out, but I'll come back. It's great. So it is Charlie is back.
Why is everything in Russian?
I'll tell you when you're older. It means death to kingmakers. That is the flag.
I don't know what you're talking about, Charlie.
Grievance of the I love this. I love grievance of the week. So I'm almost visualizing, and this is the kind of thing that I think LPA and the people of LPA are made for. having a particular cause each week or every 2 weeks and putting out the, either engaging in demonstrations or putting out video about it, coordinating it, publishing it, and then also doing that press work, doing the op-ed writing and promoting it on various platforms would be amazing. And we have no shortage of grievances to tackle. We could do grievance of the day, honestly, and there still wouldn't be enough in terms of what's going on right now.
Well,
365
don't forget
days
the
of
ability
Festivus.
to really. Don't forget the ability to hammer home a point over and over and over and over again. Look at Benghazi. How long do we have to hear about Benghazi from the Republicans? Hunter Biden. It's always her emails. It's the same thing that they'll bring up over and over and over again. And they will actually convince people. If you tell the same story long enough, people will become convinced. And so the Epstein stuff really hurts Trump. Hit him on that. Hit him on the tariffs. Just keep hitting him over and over and over on his weak points. You mentioned Saul Alinsky earlier. Saul Alinsky had some good advice, like him or not. And he had the one, pick the target, freeze it, polarize it, and personalize it and polarize it. That's what we got to do. This thing cannot be the system failed. Well, we know the system failed. It's one of the Lars Maps did. Great guy, but his whole thing, well, the system's rigged. Who rigged the system? Give the people some person to go after here, and that person is Donald Trump. He says that people are asking him to be a dictator. Take the fight directly to the one person that will bring the whole corrupt system down, and that is the president of the United States. We have to quit doing this both sidism. Go after the person that's in charge.
Yep.
Take the fight to him. We've got an existential crisis here. We can't sit around and hope we're going to run for dog catch here. Wow, great. The country's on fire, and we're electing someone to dog catch here. We got to do more than that.
Yeah, and if it were Kamala Harris, we'd be doing it with Kamala Harris, or at least I would be trying to do it with Kamala Harris. It's both. That's why we call it a duopoly. Absolutely.
You the party.
Although Kamala Harris didn't have flags. She didn't have flags.
That's true. Well, I don't.
Nobody's gonna go out there and put a Kamala Harris flag in their
That's
yard.
true. They did. They had the campaign signs. They had the Tim Waltz army caps, or the camo caps. There we go. To make you feel really macho.
Kamala Harris flag. To me, she's just as grotesque.
Yeah.
I mean,
None of the Democrats really liked Kamala that much. They kind of pretended to, because Joe Biden kind of screwed himself in that debate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, Jake, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, why not get two for the price of one? Blow up the photo.
Well, I think the American people's attention span is too short, and right now the Democrats have no power. Democrats have no power. They're not going to have any power for a while. They may never have power again, the way they go around acting.
I mean, the pendulum
And
always,
even when they do get power, they
unfortunately, the way it works, though, is look, the Republicans have all the power right now, and they piss people off like they are doing right now. And then people are like, let's try going with the Democrats. And then the Democrats piss people off by doing stupid shit. And then it swings back, I mean, they got rid of Donald Trump, because they were in 2020, and then they just hopped right back on the bandwagon in 2024.
They did it one time. The American people will do that.
Blow up the photos.
But Trump may not give up power.
I mean, blow up.
The Republicans may not give up power again. And that's a real threat that we have to face.
I think Alexis is making a good point, though, in that you have the back and forth, at least theoretically, right? So the Democrats are going to oppose anything that the Republicans oppose. The Republicans are going to oppose anything the Democrats oppose. And there are two groups of people that get lost in this, apart from the libertarians, of course. There are the swing voters who, unfortunately, and I wish the studies were different. I have looked at I've looked at recent studies. I've looked at old studies. The swing voters are usually not very politically engaged and usually don't care a whole lot about what's going on in politics and can't be made to care. They are workable, but in a different way.
Until we get to Amanda's America.
Yes, I would
to care,
make them care
or go to
with brute force if necessary. Yes, just look at these guns. So yes, and there are the people on the fringe, the radicals, who are also left out of this mess, and they are at least more politically informed and engaged. These are the people that I think are worth courting, because they're going to be the people that spirit us along with us right now to actual change. There needs to be political involvement, though, in order to have that political evolution.
my point is that we just need to make the Democrats completely irrelevant. We need
They're
to be
working
the
hard
actual
already. They're working
opposition
very
party.
hard.
They are, and that's so
We
it's
can
like,
help
we're
them.
going to attack them. Well, you
We
attack
should
people when
help
they're
them.
down. Just be the main force, and you will take
Yeah,
their spot.
yeah.
I mean,
That's the way things happen. But if we
I-
go out there just attacking them all the time. Yeah,
I think when it comes to, sorry, you can go first, Charlie.
I mean, if the rank and file average Democrat, but a lot of them would probably very happily go to the Republican Party. Fine, we don't want them anyway. And then the ones that are actually, and then the few that are actually competent, some of them might come to us, and that's okay too. A few might go to the Greens. We might actually have a functioning multiple party government for the first time ever. And it might not be all our growth, but getting. I've had this discussion with a lot of my friends from Canada and Europe and elsewhere. And I mean, really, in order to stop all this stupidity, we need to have, for a country this size, we need to have 4 to 6 reasonably strong functioning parties to make sure that nobody gets too much of a supermajority. And we have every possibility to be a part of that equation.
I think that's, and that's a whole other, sorry, go on.
And, we can, and, we've really got to start mobilizing on that. And I accidentally cut off John, and I apologize. Go right ahead, John.
I think when it comes to like being opposition, like as Jake said earlier, when it comes to like personalizing and polarizing the target, I think we can't just stop at Trump though.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be the main one when it comes to the national field, but I think also in the states we have to be targeting those like representatives that are kissing his ass, to like put it bluntly, who are like, the kind of Republicans that are like locking in goose step behind him for his policies, the kind of as well as like the kind of Democrats that are basically just being cowardly little shites when it comes to like actually opposing Trump and trying to be this more kind of like milk toast centrist kind of bullshit. You have to like sort of be oppositional in regards to like those specific people, and of course don't go too broad, because if you go too many people, that waters it too much down. You have to choose those specific people to be used to oppose against, but you also have to make sure to provide a solution as well, some alternative, not necessarily an alternative in which you have this other candidate, because maybe as a political party, for the Libertarian Party, you can do that, but not as a libertarian movement. It can't just be that. You have to also show in regards to like, why should you let these people control your own life? And so you make that as a jumping point. It's when I had to do like therapy for a while, I met this one dude who was a part of the Freedom, what was known as the Freedom Riders Socialist Organization. And one of the things we talked about, because we talked politics a little bit, he mentioned how in the organization, one of the main things was agitate, educate, organize. You have your agitation when it comes to like pointing out this kind of shit. When it comes to the protest stuff, you have the education. You can have the education done in order to show, okay, these are the people that are fucking shit up for you, and then these are the ways that we can go against that, and ways we can sort of either take power away from them or just gain more power for us to represent ourselves better. That then leads to organization. You keep on repeating that, and you try to make it so that you show the bullshit that's happening in the government. You show that the people in it are responsible for it, and then you show like the ordinary people, here are some ways that you can try to regain control, even if it's small ways. You do it so you can make it so that they're active, that they're conscious, and that they're working within their communities, even when it comes to small things like community gardens. When it comes to stuff, you point out how they're fucking up when it comes to food, how they want how like whatever kind of like health shit they're doing, they're trying to fuck you over. Bring it back to community gardening and like food for death. You show them how they're trying to fuck you over with healthcare. Like what was it, Kennedy with the whole SSRIs or with any of that kind of shit. You show them like ways to like try to like get medicine in a way that is going to best help them, but is also going to be like, you know, mutual aid things, mutual aid insurance. Find those kinds of solutions, give them to the people to try to help them help themselves.
Agitate, educate, organize. I think those three need to be part of our mission as a party. And yes, Joe, run candidates as well. Even though, Joe, I know you don't like running candidates, but I think it's important in addition to agitating and educating and organizing. Yeah, I do. I love grievance of the week. And I think that's you know, organizing and agitating and educating all at once is what can happen in there. So fantastic.
At this point, we've hit the 75-minute mark. So I think it is about time to wrap up. Give a plug on the LPA. You know, if you want to come change minds inside the organization and have fights like this one internally, like we've had today.
I was expecting you to like a lot more vicious, but
was
no,
too.
I enjoyed this a lot. I enjoyed this a lot.
Make sure to join us on Discord at discord.gg/LPL.
Appreciate you asking me to join you.
Absolutely. We wanted that. We wanted dissenting voices. So,
Thank you,
and then
Karen.
I just wanted to shut out Kyle. So now he's back.
So make sure to join us at discord.gg/LP-Alliance. Check us out at lpalliance.com. Support the LP Alliance with the chat up in the top left of the screen right now. QR code takes you to the GoFundMe for us. And we'll be back tomorrow with a business list to let you know about the information coming all around the country and around the LP.